Well, that's really good news. They can stay frozen forever. There's absolutely no shelf life. They're frozen at minus 196 degrees centigrade in liquid nitrogen, and all biologic metabolic processes stop at that temperature. So the eggs don't get any older, and the embryos don't get any older, and the sperm just stays just as good as you can imagine. Sperm is easier to freeze, of course, than eggs or embryos because there's hardly any water content. You should know the only reason freezing is a problem for anything, for if you walked into a freezer and you couldn't just be frozen and then be thawed out 100 years later, the only reason is that we're 70% water. Our cells are 70% water. We are 70% water. And so when the cell is frozen or when we're frozen, the water inside the cell actually freezes and forms ice. Ice crystals expand. You know that because if you look at ice in a glass of water, it's always floating. And that's because when it becomes solid, it forms a crystal network, and it expands and therefore becomes lighter than the water that it started out. And so that expansion will destroy all your cells. So the way we protect anything that's frozen is a complex but beautiful method. And again, our friends in Japan invented it, and we simply perfected it after that. But you vitrify, you put in a cryoprotectant in super high concentrations. And to avoid osmolar damage, you have to do it gradually. That's the key to success, very gradual. And then you instantly freeze it at 23,000 degrees centigrade per minute. And so with that rapid freezing, it doesn't form crystals, it just solidifies. So we call it vitrification. You just develop solid water, but it never had a chance to form ice. Solid water is different than ice. Solid water hasn't expanded, and it won't be damaging any of your tissue or any of your cells. And so in that state, as long as it's kept in liquid nitrogen at that temperature, there's no shelf life. It'll last forever. You can come back 1,000 years later and use those eggs.